Oh, we might have lost Stubby. Where is he?
You got me?
Oh, there you are. What's up, my man?
How are you?
I'm good. I made an Office Space reference. I don't know if you caught that movie, but it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't watch a lot of that, so
That's all right.
I did. I got the Flair thing though. So
all right, fair. I just want you to know, like, I consider you a guy who gets like an A-list movie reference. Like, I'm going to invoke a movie during your intro. I want you to know, like, you've earned the status of you're going to be associated with a good movie.
Yeah, a few times ago it was the second up to Tom Cruise in the last Top Gun, right? I can't remember the actor's name.
I mean, that's solid. I mean, you were basically Scientology away from getting the role.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a prohibitive part of it, but hey, you never know.
Yeah, you're also probably too tall to fit in those fighter jets because you have to be short. You got to be like 5'7".
Yeah, I always thought that too. Well, at least these guys, the actors are, but all the fighter pilots that we have in Congress, they're all tall guys. August Pfluger, he's like my height or taller.
That's funny. So you want to laugh, Stubby? That myth is probably spread by the actors.
I think so, because I knew a lot of guys that flew fighter jets when I was in the service, and they would always say that the taller guys would lose their lunch when they had to do, pulling the big G's.
Yep.
But most of the guys I know are my height or taller. I'm 6'2", so.
Wow, that's real. No, this is real insight. This is why you get Greg Stubbe on the show. I know we could be asking you things about impeachment inquiries and Hunter Biden fleeing testimony, but, Top Gun facts and figures matter to this audience. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's right. I mean, there is important things out there to talk about.
So in terms of an inquiry, we had Comer on the show yesterday. It sounds like there could be a vote late today.
There will be a vote today at 5.
Okay. And it sounds like they believe they have the votes. Where are we there?
I just read an article that said that some of our Republicans who are in Democratic districts have all said they're voting for it. I have heard Ken Buck will be a no. I can't articulate for the audience why he is. We can't lose more than 3. But there was a lot of there was like 6 Democrats that weren't present here yesterday, so I don't know if they flew back in for this.
Okay.
But I think it passes. Especially after the antics of Hunter Biden today. Yeah. If there was any Republican that was on the fence that's in a Democratic district that didn't think that we should open an inquiry, and then you have somebody who is subpoenaed by a congressional committee to do a transcribed interview and basically thumbs his middle finger up at you, that gives you all the reason you need to have to vote for the inquiry so you can use that in court, because now Comer and Jordan are going to move in the court system to compel his testimony because he's thumbing his middle finger at us. And it gives us a lot of judicial legal standing as a House if we have opened a formal impeachment inquiry to be able to compel that testimony in court. So if there was any Republican on the fence today, for him not showing up for his transcribed interview and pulling all the antics that he pulled today, that would definitely make you fall in the direction of, okay, we have to open up the impeachment inquiry so we can compel or have the courts order him to testify to us.
That's a great point. Florida Representative Greg Stubbe on the line from the 17th Congressional District. One of the reasons this is going on is because the belief is out there, if you look at the testimony of the IRS whistleblowers, that this was a guy who expected to get away with stuff. All investigatory paths to his father were blocked, according to their testimony in the IRS. And Hunter Biden basically showed up today and acted like a guy who believes he's above this and believes that the government's always going to look out for him because of who he is. I mean, wouldn't you say your basic takeaway from watching this today is that was very arrogant?
Yeah, I mean, Hunter Biden doesn't get to dictate to the United States Congress the terms of his subpoena. And I know that he and his father have committed so many crimes and feel like they are so above the law that this is exactly the behavior that you would expect. Can you imagine just for a second if Trump or Trump's kids or Don Jr. or somebody didn't show up for a congressionally mandated subpoena while he was president?
My goodness.
The mainstream media's heads would explode and be calling for him to be jailed. It just shows you the weaponization. It shows you the arrogance. It shows you that they 100% believe they're above the law. And I'm very happy that we're going to keep moving forward, keep putting the pressure on them. And you brought up the IRS whistleblowers. I wish that was the transcript is public, but the hearing wasn't for people to see. It was absolutely fascinating. So this is the second time they have come in, and they came in with new evidence. Some of that evidence was hundreds of emails. So Joe Biden says he had no knowledge of his son's business dealings. Yet there are hundreds of emails from fictitious email addresses while he's vice president to Hunter and his business associates, like using email addresses like robinware@gmail.com from the vice presidency office.
That's insane.
And these emails would tick up right before a Ukraine trip and right after a Ukraine trip.
No, that's
so
insane.
now we're asking the National Archives for the contents of said emails, but there was a lot of great information that these whistleblowers brought to the committee. One of those companies, Owaska, I think is the name of it, an LLC that Hunter Biden owned, received millions of dollars from a Chinese Communist Party energy company, and the day before, Comer released information from some of the subpoenas that Joe Biden himself got paid money out of Owaska. So, like, you have Joe Biden actually receiving financial compensation from the LLCs that Hunter Biden was getting paid from Chinese Communist Party entities. So you can't make this stuff up, and it's just really fascinating how the Democrats just say, "Oh, there's no direct evidence that Joe Biden was involved in any of the business dealings." We have hundreds of thousands of dollars of payments from his brother, Jim Biden, and from Hunter in these LLCs to Joe Biden. And I believe we still haven't gotten all of those information back from some of those subpoenas. So I think we should have impeached him 6 months ago. I'm glad we're moving forward with the impeachment inquiry today. That will give us a lot more legal standing as we move into the court system.
Well, that's fascinating, because one of the defenses people on the left try to trot out is they're like, well, Hunter Biden didn't work in the government. But to me, that's even more damning, because it's true he didn't work in the government, but his father was emailing him government information while all of this money was flying into their bank accounts, which makes it, in my opinion, more egregious.
Was using his position to enrich his family. He even Joe Biden bragged about getting that prosecutor fired, which we now have emails that the entities and Hunter Biden and all these other associates were working to get this guy fired. And Joe Biden used $1 billion that the United States was supposed to give Ukraine as leverage. And if you don't fire this prosecutor, then you're not getting this $1 billion. And wouldn't you know it, he gets fired. And the Hunter Biden, or the Biden family, got, I think it was $6.7 million from their business dealings in Ukraine. So just because, this argument from the left that, Joe Biden didn't take any money. If I said tomorrow, I'm going to vote for Ukraine funding, and my wife or my son or my brother was getting $5 million from the Ukrainian government, that's still a violation of 18 U.S.C. 201. Public corruption, bribery, all of that. So the fact that his family was enriched by millions of dollars is pertinent to the point. It doesn't matter that Joe received money. It's although he has, but his family was enriched for things that he did as vice president.
It's fascinating, but and that is reality. And I think one of the reasons that you guys were hoping to get closed door testimony is so you could just get the facts, whereas an open hearing that he wants allows every Democrat to take 5 minutes to filibuster and yell and scream about witch hunts and every bad thing they want to accuse the Republican Party of. Was that essentially the motive for doing this behind closed doors, that it could be fact-driven that way?
Yeah, and let me touch on that real quickly, because that is a very important point that you bring up. There's a reason why we brought him in for a transcribed interview. It's like a deposition where you can walk through a series of questions for hours at a time. In a hearing that's in public, each member only gets 5 minutes. So you can't build on testimony and documents and do a deposition when each member only has 5 minutes. And so his lawyers, of course, want the public hearing, because they're not going to be able to drill down on all of this evidence that we have and ask him very tough questions under oath. So this is all a public charade. We want this in public. They want to do that because each member only gets 5 minutes, and then the Democrats get 5 minutes, and it's just a charade instead of really getting down to the information that we need and asking those questions and building upon previous questions. You can't do that in a hearing. You can only do that in a transcribed interview.
Fascinating stuff. I will say this, Greg Steube, you may have just gotten the role in the next Top Gun.
Oh, I hope so. It probably pays a lot better than Congress.
Well, listen, man, if you get on those Pelosi stock tips, we might be having a different conversation.
Yeah, right?
Another conversation for another time. Merry Christmas to you and your family, my man.
You too. Merry Christmas.
See you soon, brother. There he goes, the great Greg Stubbe.